Pack your bags, we're headed on a big old ride, with dreams of sunlit shores and the open skies, from the hills of Cyprus to where the world collides.
All right, so picture this. A December trip to Bucharest. I don't know about you, but Christmas markets instantly come to mind, all that festive cheer. But what's it actually like to be there, experience it firsthand? That's what we're diving into today. We've got Rob and Mandy's blog post about their trip. They actually moved from Cardiff to Cyprus. So travel, adventures, it's kind of their thing now.
Yeah, and what's interesting here is they chose Bucharest specifically for those Christmas markets. It wasn't just a random stop. They had a plan.
Makes sense. Who wouldn't want to experience that? Though I got to say, their arrival sounds, well, a tad less than festive. They flew in from Paphos, where they live now, and walked right into a wall of rain.
You'd think it dampened their spirits, right?
Yeah.
Oh, no, not these two. Straight from the airport they went to. Get this, a place called Carucuber.
Carucuber. Okay, I'm intrigued. What's the story there?
Imagine this. A former beer hall, late 1800s, neo-Gothic architecture, stained glass, the whole works. It's an institution in Bucharest, and their first meal there.
Said something about them right. Like, they're going for authentic right off the bat.
Totally. Plus, they even got to see traditional Romanian dancers while they were there. Talk about setting the mood.
That's fantastic. Okay, so they're clearly all about those local experiences, which brings us to, I'm assuming, the Christmas market.
You know it.
Is it?
Next day, they braved the cold and finally made it to the market we talked about.
The anticipation. So was it everything they hoped for?
Sounds like it. And keep in mind, this isn't just any Christmas market. This one, right in front of the Parliament building.
Wow, okay, that's a backdrop and a half. What kind of things caught their eye?
Yeah.
They raved about the mulled wine, said it was surprisingly good. And get this, minced pork wrapped in cabbage leaves. That was their snack of choice. Okay, now that's what I call embracing the local cuisine, not your average Christmas market fare.
Right. And it wasn't just about the food. They scrolled down Constitution Avenue, all lit up. They even ended up in Old Town later. Cheese and fruit platter, the whole deal.
I love it. Packing it all in, but also those chill moments too. But hold on, I got to ask about this day trip to Bulgaria.
Yeah. This is where it gets interesting. Day 3, they just hop in a car, drive an hour, and bam, they're in Ruse, Bulgaria.
An hour. Seriously, I had no idea it was that close.
Right. Speaks to their spontaneity, don't you think? Like, they're up for anything.
I'm all for that.
Yeah.
They could have easily stayed in Bucharest the whole time, but no, they're like, let's go to Bulgaria.
So what was it like crossing into Bulgaria? Anything stand out during the drive?
Well, they did mention something striking. They hit this massive convoy of trucks at the border, hundreds of them, and the reason, the war in Ukraine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Ports were closed, so this land route through Romania and Bulgaria, it became crucial for Ukraine to, export goods.
That must have been quite the experience. A real reminder that even on a fun trip, you're encountering, the wider world,
Exactly. And they talked about that, how it highlighted, how connected things are, how even a conflict far away can have a real impact right there in front of you.
It's like layers to the whole experience.
Right. And that feeling, it comes up again when they talk about crossing the Danube River, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the actual border, right,
Yeah.
between Romania and Bulgaria.
Spot on. They crossed on the Freedom Bridge, and the way they describe it, it's powerful. On one side, you've got these vast kind of drab apartment buildings, leftovers from the communist era.
And on the other.
Ruse. Picturesque, charming Christmas market, completely different vibe.
Wow. It's like a physical representation of the region's history, right? All these layers.
Exactly.
So what did they get up to in Ruse? Any specific sites?
It seems more like they were wandering, soaking it in. They found this remembrance park dedicated to Bulgarian heroes with these impressive statues. And get this, an Orthodox church where you go downstairs to get inside.
Wait, really? That's unusual. Did they say why that was?
They didn't go to detail, but it's those little things, the unexpected architecture. Shows how they're curious, open to those unique details.
Instead of just checking things off a list.
Exactly. They wanted to really experience it.
So they're in Bulgaria, taking it all in. Did they head back to Bucharest that same day?
They did. After a nice lunch in Ruse, they headed back across the border for their last day in Bucharest.
Okay, last day. Surely they've done it all by now. Or were there still some surprises in store? Oh, I'm going to guess they squeezed in a few more sites, knowing these two.
You're right on the money. They made time for a tour of Bucharest's Parliament building.
Which, let's be real, that's not just any building. It's one of the biggest in the world, right? That had to be impressive.
They kept it short and sweet. called it massive and unique.
Understatement of the year, probably. I've always been fascinated by those kinds of places. You know, the ones that just make you feel tiny? I bet it was something else.
You can tell they were impressed, even if they didn't go on and on about it. And it's cool how they mix those grand experiences with, like, smaller moments, too.
Right. Not just checking off landmarks. They're also taking it easy sometimes.
Oh.
And speaking of, did they have brunch at the dock? Sounds pretty fancy. Oh, and I bet there was.
More mulled wine, naturally.
Had to be done. Those little things that stick with you, though, you know?
Yeah.
Food, smells, those chance encounters.
100%. It brings the whole experience to life. And speaking of little things, there's this line in their blog post, I gotta share it, talking about their last day, right? And they just casually mention old, smelly trams and Romany women selling cigarettes outside the Obermarket.
Okay, see, that's what I'm talking about, those details, you know?
Uh-huh.
It's so easy to miss that stuff when you're busy being a tourist.
Exactly. But those are the things that make it real, you know? It's not always pretty, but it's authentic.
It's the difference between just seeing a place and really feeling it. Like, you're right there with them, smelly trams and all. Makes you realize travel isn't always glamorous, but it's about those real, unfiltered moments.
So true. It makes you think, what kind of traveler are you? The perfectly posed Instagram type? Or the one digging for those hidden gems, the real heart of a place?
That's a good question to ask yourself before you even book a flight. Changes how you see everything.
This Palace of the Parliament, and it is huge EE.
Huge is an understatement. It's one of the largest administrative buildings in the world, built during Nicolae Ceausescu's rule in Romania.
And the blogger mentions a troubled history. Seems like a bit of an understatement to me.
Oh, definitely. Ceausescu's regime was incredibly oppressive, and this building became a symbol of his power over the country. It's interesting they decided to visit a place with so much history. Maybe they were looking for some perspective.
Makes you think about how much weight history carries, right? And how we can still feel its presence today. But they don't stay there too long. After the palace, they go to the waterfront for a little relaxation by the river.
What a contrast.
Absolutely. Because in the end, travel, it's not just about the sites you check off a list. It's about opening yourself up to something new and letting yourself be surprised.
And who knows, you might surprise yourself too, right?
Beautifully put. So thinking back on Rob and Mandy's Bucharest adventure, what really stuck with you? What got you thinking?
You know, it's that reminder to just go with the flow. Like their day trip to Bulgaria, totally unplanned. It's easy to stick to the plan, but sometimes those detours, those are the best parts.
Right. Be open to those moments, you know, the ones you can't plan for. And honestly, just finding the joy in the everyday stuff, a good meal, something funny you see, connecting with people.
It's all part of the tapestry, isn't it? The big moments, the small ones, the planned and the spontaneous. It all comes together to make it special. That's what makes travel so great. Really is. And for just 4 days, you know, they really packed it in. It makes you realize you can do a lot in a short time if you make the most of it.
Totally. They had the Parliament building, the markets, even that taste of Bulgaria. But it wasn't just rushing from one thing to the next, you know. They also took time to just be there, experience the city.
Exactly. It wasn't just about the big ticket items. They wandered, they soaked it all in, connected with the place on a different level.
It's like they understood. A trip isn't about how much you cram in, but how present you are, you know. Being open to whatever happens, finding those little moments of joy, even in the simplest things.
And that's something we can all, like, take with us, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's a big trip or just looking at our own city with fresh eyes, being curious, being open. That's what matters.
Couldn't agree more. So as we wrap up this Bucharest deep dive, I'm curious, what about you? What stuck with you? What got you thinking?
Honestly, I think anyone listening who's never been to Bucharest, they just got a real feel for it, you know, the energy, the vibe. They painted such a vivid picture.
They really did. It's definitely on my list now. Who knows? Maybe I'll even try those minced pork cabbage rolls.
Hey, you never know. That's part of the adventure, right? Trying new things, stepping outside your comfort zone. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. So to everyone listening, if you're feeling that travel bug, don't ignore it. Do your own deep dive into Bucharest. Look beyond the tourist traps, find those hidden gems, and most importantly, make it your own.
Because in the end, the best trips, the ones we craft ourselves, those journeys, they stay with you. And Bucharest. It sounds like a city with endless possibilities. Who knows what you might discover there?
We never hide. Out on the highway, chasing the